What's up, Browns fans? This is Austin Farron from Sugar Creek, Ohio, and you're listening to the Dogs Podcast. Let's kick this thing off.
Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Zach Kopp, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Just me and Josh again today. We're the most devoted to this podcast.
That's right.
In Zach's defense, we were supposed to do this yesterday, and then I canceled, and then he already had something to go on today, and I'm clearly more important to the show than him, so we had to do it today. And then Justin's sick, so I might have got him sick in the last week or so.
So Justin's sick. You were sick last week. I've been sick since then.
So we're lucky we're even here at all. So you're welcome.
Yeah, you are welcome.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that we are having discussions about maybe changing the name of the show. There was that Drake and Josh on, was it Disney or Nick or something? And
we can be Breaking Josh.
Break.
Oh
boy, yeah, this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, so there's not a ton going on in the world. This is the start of the Combine week. There's been some Browns news in the past few days, so we're gonna get into some of that. Some hypothetical trades I saw on the interwebs. I saw a report by CBS Sports we're gonna get into, but before we do, remember to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Definitely check us out on TikTok. I got that login information. I'm about to start dropping some fire content on there. I'm
waiting for it. I don't know why you haven't yet.
It's been a busy week, man. I had to do 20 hours of post-licensing education, and it's due tomorrow, and I waited until Monday to start it.
Sounds about right.
So I've been doing a lot of post-licensing online computer work the last 2 days, and it sucked real bad.
All right, so stay tuned for that TikTok game, though.
Yeah,
I'm about to ramp it up.
Yeah, I might show some skin. No.
Ooh, isn't that an OnlyFans thing?
It's how you get your OnlyFans discovered on TikTok.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know how the whole game works, but all right.
I'm young and hip. What can I say? If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. You can also find us on Google, Spotify, and Apple, the other one. Sorry, I lost my train of thought talking about OnlyFans. Also, if you want to get your intro on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail. I forgot to tell you that. Big shout out to Austin from Sugar Creek, right down the road for his intro today. Lastly, if you're looking for more content, head to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. A lot of fun on there. Patreon members come on the after hours episodes that we do every week. We let them run the episode. We had fantasy football leagues where I post articles and I find interesting in there. It's just like constant Browns football talk throughout the week, nonstop, 24/7. We talk movies, we talk music, all kinds of things in there. It's just it's almost like an online Browns backers hangout pen pal club. So it's pretty cool in there. If that's something you're interested in, head to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member. So coming out of this week, I would say the biggest piece of news, probably Browns wise, was that Njoku. I guess the Browns are saying, word out of the Browns is that they're willing to pay Njoku $10+ million a year. I'm not sure. I didn't hear for how many years, but that's the kind of range we're thinking. What do you think about that? Is he worth that? And what does that say? Is Austin Hooper still going to be on the team if we do that?
Yeah. If my initial reaction to that was it's a little high for what he's done in his 5 years in the league. And I know that the quarterback play hasn't been otherworldly in his time here, but at the same time, you see good tight ends start to make a name for themselves 3 years, 4 years in. He's had 5. He really still hasn't done a lot for me that would get that kind of money.
So I think they're paying him kind of like on his potential.
Which is risky.
I will say this too. I think I saw in his rookie year he had 5 drops, and since then he only has I think like 4 or 5 drops combined. It's some weird stat, like crazy stat like that I didn't know. So I think he's shown he wants to be in Cleveland. He's put in a lot of work. He's clearly like an athletic, talented freak. He seemed to kind of find like a like a role last year. So if he gets paid and he's getting majority of the snaps, we get better quarterback play. You know, what can you get from him? I think the worry is you let him go because you don't want to pay him, and then he ends up on somewhere, you know, like the Chiefs. I know they don't need him, but they kind of hoard talent or whatever. And then he just goes off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's 25 years old, so he's still young. There is obviously great potential. Like you said, he is an athletic freak. I mean, that's why I was so excited when they ended up drafting him back in 2018.
He was arguably our best
17
receiver pass catcher last year. I
Yes.
know for a lot of the season, he led the team in yards.
Yeah, and he had like the biggest game, that game against the Chiefs. I mean, obviously, or the Chargers, but he had one huge catch and run, but still, it was a big game.
Yeah.
If Austin Hooper is not going to be part of the picture next year, then I'm more willing to pay David to come back and be that role.
I think it's super hard to evaluate a lot of our receivers or tight ends in the pass catching department because of the quarterback play this past. It's just so hard to evaluate. No, I mean, our leading receiver was DPJ at what, 500 yards?
Yeah, something like that.
That's embarrassing. Yeah. That's embarrassing. So it's really tough to evaluate that position. So you got to really break it down on what he's done. You got to probably watch the film and see individually what he's doing in terms of blocking, his route running, that kind of stuff, because the numbers might not be there just because of the QB play. But I trust Andrew Berry in terms of, I don't think we're going to mortgage the future for David Njoku. So if they say they can pay him $11 million a year for 3 years or whatever, then I believe like that's in the plan. Mm-hmm. It's not going to screw us down the road. You know what I mean? They've thought about it and like they know this is what they can do. I just don't see, if we do pay him that, I don't see any way that Austin Hooper's back.
It wouldn't make sense to be paying two tight ends that amount of money, especially for the amount of involvement we've used them for in the last couple of years. But
supposedly when Stefanski came in, we were supposed to do all this 3 tight end stuff and it was going to make us unguardable and blah, blah, blah. We still do that, but I think you've kind of seen, even just in the last year, the evolution of the NFL. We got to put speed out on the field. You can't have 3 guys who run, 4.8s or 4.9s out there. We need to put some 4.3, 4.4 guys out there because it's not going to, even if we go get a really good quarterback, that's making their job tougher.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We got to put some speed, some guys who can separate, some guys who can make people miss, and we got to put them out there and be able to give them the ball in space. So to me, it doesn't make sense to have 2 tight ends that you're paying over $10 million a year.
Yeah, and I know one thing about Njoku too is he's very focused on staying here.
Yeah.
He wants to be in Cleveland. He wants to play his career here. So not that every guy who says he wants to be a Cleveland Brown should be a Cleveland Brown or deserves huge money just because he says that, but it is nice to see. And we've kind of documented his, history of, at one point he wanted to trade. He didn't want to be here at all.
Which is something I kind of like. He went from, they brought in Hooper, we drafted Bryant, and he's like, man, I want out.
Yep.
And instead, he did a kind of a 180 in terms of, well, why don't I just outwork these guys, get better, and now the Browns are willing to pay him like he's going to be the number 1 next year.
Yeah, you're right, and that is a great characteristic to have instead of saying, well, you just want to, one up me, I want to go. Why don't you just outwork those guys, earn your spot? I mean, competition is great for competitive people.
Yes. Competition's what you're only as good as, your backups. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if there's no competition in practice, you're probably not going to be a very good team.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
And it's good to see that Njoku kind of took that on, fired his agent.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
He fired his just to try to stay in Cleveland. So I guess, we'll see what happens. I like David Njoku. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a good teammate. He answered me on Twitter. So, I'm a fan of his. So I'd like to see him get a deal done. not to say that means I don't like Austin Hooper. It's just I actually think Austin Hooper could be valuable. It just he hasn't really done it. Is it 100% his fault? Who knows? But
yeah, and I guess if you're going to kind of blame the quarterback play for the lack of numbers for Njoku, you kind of have to slide some of that over to Hooper too. So
it's been all of our pass catchers.
Yeah.
It's been all of them.
Yeah. I mean, Jarvis's numbers have looked down from when he was in Miami. There's a common denominator.
So another Browns news, the Browns are going to let Clowney hit the free agent market to kind of field some offers to get an idea of what the market is like for him before they make an offer. I think this could work in their favor, or it could come back to bite them. But I think Clowney's going to want to test the market anyways. He's on the record saying it's about who's going to pay him the most money. And so if the Browns came out and they offered him a low ball, he wasn't going to take it anyways.
No.
So by letting him hit the free agent market, now it's just cross our fingers time and hope teams don't come throwing him big money.
Yeah. Well, and remind me, isn't this kind of how it worked out last year whenever we were trying to get him here in the first place? Not the year before. I know it was 2 years in a row we were kind of recruiting Clowney to come to Cleveland, and obviously the first year he went to Tennessee instead. But I thought last year, too, he was kind of wanting bigger money, longer deal, couldn't get it anywhere else, and then took that 1 year prove-it deal with the Browns.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought.
So he's done this the last couple of years. It hasn't worked in his favor. That being said, he wasn't coming off the years he's about to be coming off of.
Right. Yep.
So I do think the Browns, though, unless somebody throws crazy money at him, if it's a solid meet, they should match it, because I don't see anybody on the open market that is going to be better than him. That's cheaper. You know what I mean? You can't go bargain bin on these edge rushers. It's one of the most important positions on the field.
Yeah.
So I don't want to save $2 million and have a guy who's awful. Like, let's just pay the guy a little bit if we have to, and at least that position's one of the most important positions on the field is solidified.
And he was so important to our run defense.
Yep.
We talked about that last week, how our run defense was completely transformed from a year ago.
The Ravens games. Now, I know the Ravens have all their running backs hurt, but he made an impact in both of those games. Mm-hmm. He's athletic enough to kind of help try to keep Lamar in the pocket.
Yep.
In their run game, and I think it would be a mistake to let him walk over. Like, if we're close, they got to get it. They got to figure it out, because again, don't go bargain bin on this. And look at the running backs in our division. Mm-hmm. Joe Mixon just had his best season as a pro. Najee Harris is pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
And then the J.K. Dobbins, Lamar. I mean, if any of their top 6 running backs are healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about how deep the Ravens are at running back, Dobbins, Edwards,
Yep.
I think, was it Justice Hill?
Yep.
Even he's solid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then Lamar's, I know I'm not saying this, he's the best running back in the league. I mean, I'm not saying that to be rude to the guy this time, but there's
true.
nobody you don't want to see him running in open space with the ball in his hands.
No,
so
not at all.
Clowney is kind of, we need him for this division. The pass rush numbers are huge. You know, he almost got the 10 sacks this year, which would have been nice. But what he does in the run game is so underrated.
Oh, definitely. And I think with the Browns being in this, so it's just weird to say after all these years of suckage, but the Browns are in this win now window with their roster. And I think trying to fill that other side of the defensive line with some, second string type of, edge rusher or a rookie in the draft, which we know we really can't afford to be blowing that early first round pick on an edge rusher this year. And we have so many other wide receiver needs. So we already know we have a proven guy in Clowney who can get the job done. And he really, really, intensifies that run defense. So we should really be looking into, like you said, matching, trying to get that deal done, depending on what he's getting offered from other teams.
It'll be really interesting to see what we do in free agency. I think what we do in free agency is going to very much dictate who we take with that first pick.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
If you see us land a wide receiver or two in free agency, that's a very real possibility that wide receiver is going to be off the board in the first round for the Browns, and they're going to go defense. If we find an edge rusher or an interior defensive lineman in free agency and we don't address wide receiver, then I think wide receiver is 100% in play. It's going to be very interesting to see what Andrew Berry attacks and where.
Yeah, especially what sort of receivers they go after in free agency, because we've been saying all along too, this class, obviously we'd love to get one of those really, early projected studs in the draft at receiver, but it's such a deep position this year. We could easily get a really good receiver who develops into a 1 in the second round.
Correct, yeah.
Or trade back up into the end of the first. All kinds of things can happen when draft day rolls around, as we know.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I want one of those receivers, but that's because I like offense.
Yeah, we like flashy new shiny toys.
Yeah. So this week, Andrew Berry came out and said that, I'm paraphrasing his quote, that the Browns have seen Baker play at a high level. They've seen him play playoff football before. There's no reason to think that he won't do it this coming year, and he's the guy. They have to say that. I mean, he can't come out. He's not going to come out before free agency and before the draft and just give up any bargaining position he has. You know what I mean? You got also reports coming out from Mary Kay saying the Browns are going to explore all QB options in this offseason to upgrade. Who are you going to believe more in this situation? You can say whatever you want about Mary Kay, but she has no reason to lie in this situation. Andrew Berry does. You know what I mean? People can hate on her when she makes reports like this, but she's been doing this job a long time, and she has sources, and the sources wouldn't speak to her if she wasn't trusted. So, and if somebody's telling her that we're exploring options, I believe that we're exploring options. I'm not going to believe the guy who's trying to keep all the chips close to his chest so he can, have negotiating and bargaining power.
Yeah.
So speaking on that, I saw it was a hypothetical trade on a Browns website. I forget which one. I saw it today. And we need filler content because it's the off season. So I wanted to throw this out to you. It was the Browns trading for Russell Wilson. We would get Russell. We would trade away Baker, this year's first round draft pick, and next year's first round draft pick. And then what do you think? Would you take that? The Seahawks would take that.
It kind of sounds similar to what, remember that draft simulation or that trade simulation that we talked about a couple weeks ago had to do with Russell?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if that was the same offer or not, but would I give Baker and our next 2 first round picks for Russell Wilson? I probably just because.
Just probably?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do it. You talked me into it. That was easy, right? First round picks, we've talked about it before, and I got to keep reminding myself, I think we put a little too much stock in them. There's no guarantee whatsoever they pan out whatsoever. We could easily get the players we need in free agency and in the later, second, third rounds of the drafts. Russell Wilson is a proven Pro Bowl, Super Bowl winning quarterback, and he's still young. And I think he's got a lot left in the tank. And I think a change of scenery would really help him out too.
I agree. He came out and said that he likes being in Seattle, but he just, he's a good, teammate and player. So he's not putting down his own organization, kind of like a Derek Carr. But there's got to be a small inkling in there somewhere where he's like, man, I'd kind of like to get a fresh start somewhere.
Yeah.
I would pull the trigger on that in a heartbeat. I don't know if you guys remember, but 2 years ago, I said I would have traded Odell and Miles.
Yeah, you did.
For Russell Wilson. And
yeah.
A lot of people called me crazy. Some people still might call me crazy for that, but we let Odell go for free.
That's true.
That's
true.
But I would do that in a heartbeat. One, unless you're a team like one of these really bad teams like Jacksonville, where you need a lot of draft capital to try to get as many picks as possible so you can hit on as many as possible to get started, to get to your window. To me, draft picks is overrated.
Yeah, and you always say the Rams have clearly shown us that they don't matter if you're in
your window. Mm-hmm. If you're in your window, you just need that little bit to get over the hump. To me, the draft picks they're crazy.
Well, think about Bill Belichick all those years. When he had Brady, they never picked in the first round. They were always trading out, racking up second and third round picks, and then they were hitting on those picks. But they were giving up the first rounders to do that.
Yeah.
So it's really all about your front office personnel, your coaching, your talent evaluators. But my only hesitation, I know you're going to call me stupid for this with Russell, is I'm just a little hesitant to go from a short quarterback to an even shorter quarterback. And I know that Russell, obviously he's proven that he can navigate the pocket in the NFL because he's been elite in the NFL, but it still just gives me a little bit of hesitation.
So I'm not worried about that going from Baker to Russell. I would be more worried about that going from Baker to like a rookie. I think what's his name, Malik Willis or something.
Malik Willis, yeah. I think he's only 6 foot.
He's a shorter guy. I would be more nervous in going from Baker to him because he's unproven.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Going from Baker to Russell, I've seen Russell do it in this league for a long time.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the Seattle offensive line is hasn't been anywhere close to what Cleveland's offensive line is right now.
Honestly, since Russell got his contract, their entire roster hasn't been that great, which is one of the reasons why you got to be so careful giving quarterbacks money.
Yeah.
And you got to have a special quarterback. Now, the Seahawks haven't made it to the Super Bowl, but they've won 10-plus games and been competitive almost all the time. This year was rough, but Russell missed a decent amount of games. But pretty much if Russell's been the quarterback, they've always at least been relevant towards the end of the season, and they made some playoff pushes, that kind of thing. They got Lockett and Metcalf now, but before that they didn't really have anything on offense. They had the Legion of Boom, and then that went away, and it was just basically Russell, and it was just him running around carrying the team for a long time. So if you're going to have a quarterback that makes money, he's got to be good enough to elevate some of these players. Now, Russell could come here, and he'd still have to elevate some people, but he wouldn't have to do it nearly as much as he's had to do it in Seattle the last 5 years.
No, I've always liked Russell Wilson just as the guy. Like, he's just always been especially when he first came in the league and he took over that starting spot, and then the second year he goes and he wins a Super Bowl, and he was just so humble about the whole experience
he's supposed to be, they picked him in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Matt Flynn was supposed to be that guy.
They gave him a lot of money in free agent. Remember that? Yeah.
They paid him to be the guy.
And he never even got to start.
Ever.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. So I would make the move on that trade. What do you guys think? Would you make the move? I know for some reason there's been a lot of Russell slander the last year, and I don't know why. Like, do we not remember that this dude is very good? Like, extremely good?
He is. I'm just going to look up. Do you know exactly how old he is? Not that.
I thought he was mid-30s.
33. That's what I thought. Oh yeah, that's right. He's our age. I knew that. Yeah.
Well, if he's the same age as me, then I don't know if we should draft him because I feel like crap every day. I'm probably not in quite as good a shape as Russell Wilson.
Yeah, just a little bit different. Yeah.
But I haven't gotten hit as much as he has.
No. But the more I think about it now that we've been talking about Russell Wilson, he's not going to be running for his life behind this offensive line like he is in Seattle.
He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the league. So you put that behind our line with our run game and the play action.
And whatever receivers we do bring, because we are bringing in something at receiver.
I mean, that's lethal. He's considered one of the best deep ball throwers in the league.
Yeah, imagine if they would make that trade, would have Wilson, they bring in like an Allen Robinson, who's not, a young, speedy receiver, but he's such a reliable target.
Imagine if Schwartz figures it out.
Yeah, but that's where I was going to go with the speed then was Schwartz.
And DPJ. So I think he'd fit in our system great. I would make that move yesterday. So as we move forward, another thing I did see was Davante Adams, arguably the hottest free agent target on the market. CBS listed the Browns as a long shot to get him. They said if we could add Aaron Rodgers, obviously our chances would go up.
Yeah.
Don't tease me, CBS. But he was listed as a long shot. They said basically Andrew Berry has been great, but he's yet to make, a big splash move as he's been a GM, and this could be his first chance to make like that kind of headline grabbing move. Man, make it happen, Andrew Berry. Go get your headline, because that would make the Browns, so much better. I'm going
to go as far as to say that favorites. Come on.
I'm done saying we're favorites or anything, because I've been burnt too many. I'm like, I just can't say it anymore. I want to say that next year we're going to be really good, but who knows? Who we're Cleveland.
Yeah.
Every time there's expectations, we don't live up to them. Every time we aren't expected to do anything, we somehow have a okay season. No, when I say every time, I mean like twice. But this is a move. Well, it'd get the fans excited. He'd be one of the most popular players on the team instantly. Mm-hmm. And then could you imagine him with, in the play action? Imagine thinking we got to stop Nick Chubb, and then Davante Adams is out there.
Yeah. I guess whenever I said favorites, I was thinking Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, you mean to get, okay.
Yeah.
I'm hearing rumblings that he's going to re-sign another short-term deal with the Packers, and they're going to pay him like $50 million a year or something nuts, which is funny that he would go back after all that. It would just be very Aaron Rodgers.
Unless he just knew he was staying there the whole time, and all his grumblings was to get more money.
Yeah. Which, who knows?
At this point, honestly, I would be shocked if he's not a Packer.
I don't understand how you went from I'm so mad I'm not gonna play. This is my last. They're letting me come back for one last ride with my guys, and then I'm gone. To, I think I will stay.
Yeah. You know what? And maybe part of that too is to like, hey, this is my last ride here. If you want to win a Super Bowl, better do it now. Trying to get more guys to the team, and
he's got plenty.
I don't know. Yeah,
he's got plenty.
Yeah.
They should not have lost to the 49ers.
No, that game was ridiculous.
So
yeah,
but what do you guys? I don't know a single Browns fan who'd say no to Davante Adams on our team. Especially if it meant you got Aaron Rodgers with it. If that's something you can't get behind, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I say don't watch the show, don't watch the Browns, just forget it.
I don't know what you would need. But especially the fact we'd essentially get him for free. Not for free, you'd have to pay him, but he's a free agent. We don't have to trade anything.
Right.
Nothing like that. So just the fact that we were on the short list of teams who could potentially land him kind of made my ears stand up a little bit.
Just a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so before we move on, Hoops fans, the latest offer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is too good to pass up. I'm talking between the legs, 360 windmill good. New customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. If Sportsbook is not yet available in your state, you can still take your shot at a big payday. Everybody can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Basketball Contest. I did a few of these myself over the weekend. Wasn't feeling too good, so I thought, screw it, I'm going to lay on the couch and put some lineups together. Didn't win, but I'm going to keep on playing because it's just too much fun not to. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code TPPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yep.
Speaking of basketball, Cavs got to get their players healthy. We got a tough few week stretch here that's going to kind of dictate playoff positioning, I think. And we've come out of the All-Star break with no Garland, no LeVert. Rondo's hurt. We're playing basketball like it's 1970 again. There's no guards. We just have 7-footers running around slowly, and it's not been good. So the Cavs need to get healthy. What's crazy is we're competing But we just, down the stretch, we can't do enough offensively with
Yeah, you need those guys.
We need them. And hopefully once Garland gets back, we start winning again. But they've been tough to watch. They play tonight, so hopefully we can get a win. We'll play against the Hornets, who have an okay guard, so that sucks. I haven't heard if Garland's playing or not. If he does, or if he doesn't, it could get rough. So if you haven't been watching the Cavs, go watch them, though. This is the year. Monday started the combine. They haven't done any on-field workouts yet and stuff like that, but teams have been showing up. Guys have been showing up, getting their measurements, doing team interviews, that kind of stuff, media availability, all that good stuff. So we're just going to go through. Stefanski was there, so he was asked some questions by reporters. We're going to go through, listen to his video, talk about it a little bit. Got some video clips from Olave and Wilson. We're going to play a couple of those, and then we'll just talk about them.
I think there were times that we just have to do a little bit better job at really every spot, coaching, playing, you name it. I just think we got to nail down the details of our system, give our guys the best chance to succeed, and then ultimately make a couple more plays a game is what it comes down to.
So I think if you watch the Browns this past year, you know that they weren't far away from being a 12-win team. You can go look at a handful of games and point to one or two plays. That is why we lost. We were hairs away from being a 13-win team, a 12-win team.
Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, off the top of my head.
First Ravens game.
There's 4. How about the Steelers game? We should have never lost the first one.
Yeah, 15-10.
Yeah, that was stupid. There's 5 right there.
So when a lot of times these games come down, like he said, it's just a handful of plays that make or break the game. And this was a year where we just didn't make those plays. So if we can button up even in 3 of those games, make those plays, we're in the playoffs. So I think that everybody's just got to get on board. It's the details. I think from 2020 to 2021, we didn't appear to be as buttoned up at times.
No. It didn't seem that way.
We seemed like a well-oiled machine in 2020, which was crazy because we weren't ever practicing.
No, yeah, we weren't allowed to see each other face to face.
Maybe the key is to keep these guys away from each other. They don't tick off. But it was kind of weird to see us go from so polished and well-coached and disciplined in 2020 it seemed to take a little bit of a step back. We didn't go into like Freddie territory.
No.
But it was definitely, especially early in the year, penalties were an issue again. It seemed to get better as the year went on. But I just think, if you got to be taken seriously, you got to do the little things. It's the little things that lead to the big things.
Mm-hmm. And we saw our defense from the beginning of the season to the end, how much better they got. That second half of the season, other than the Patriots game, our defense had us in every single game, but it was the offense that was just getting worse and worse and worse.
We couldn't score 17. It was almost impossible to get there.
This is the NFL in 2021, and you can't score more than 15, 16 points in a game.
I know.
You're not going to win.
No, because especially as you get further into the playoffs and stuff, you're going to face good offenses.
Yeah.
Ask the Bills. Bills were the statistically best defense in the league this year.
Didn't matter.
They gave up 177 yards passing after the 2-minute warning.
Yeah. So in the NFL right now, if your defense is giving up 15 points a game, that's essentially a shutout.
Yeah, especially with kickers can make field goals from 60 yards.
Yeah. It's stupid. So, if your offense can't outscore teams when your defense is doing that, that's why you're not in the playoffs.
Yep, 100%. We did see reports. Stefanski came out and said he's going to continue to call plays this coming year. Where do you stand on that?
By default, I'm not a huge fan of head coaches calling plays just because I think that there's enough stuff going on during an NFL game that you need to be focused on and managing and handling. That you have an offensive coordinator for a reason. You get to handpick these guys. Now it works out obviously for some coaches, but I do think they're the exception, not the rule. What do you think?
I like that he calls the plays. My biggest thing too is the biggest argument I hear against him is people like to talk about the Steelers playoff game where he didn't coach and Van Pelt called plays.
That one game.
And then look how explosive the offense was, blah. And then the next week we only scored 17 against the Chiefs. The offense was not that explosive in that game. The Steelers gave us five turnovers in the first half. If you remember, in the second half, we did essentially nothing, and we hung on for dear life to win the game.
That's right, we did.
So
that's right.
I get so tired of hearing let Alex Van Pelt. Like, Alex Van Pelt's going to come in, and it's still going to be the same offense. So I have that argument makes no sense to me. Two, I don't mind him calling plays because, I mean, some of the best coaches in the league call the plays. I mean, Matt LaFleur calls the plays, Sean McVay calls the plays, Sean Payton called the plays, Andy Reid calls the plays. So as long as it's not causing problems as far as clock management, decision making, that kind of stuff, I don't have a problem with it. Now, if it comes out this year and we got all kinds of clock management and game managing decision problems, then okay, give it up. But until that becomes an issue, I mean, we saw the guy milk every last bit of talent out of our offense in 2020 when he was coach of the year.
Yeah,
so I don't think he's the problem.
No, I don't think he's the problem at all. And at the end of the day, whether, I think maybe he shouldn't or you think he should, it's his call. If he wants to do it, he can do it. Yeah. And hell, he won Coach of the Year 2 years ago. I'll let him do it. It's not my preference, but at the same time, if he wants to, go for it. I like Stefanski. I really do.
No, I think for the first time in my life, we have the coach, we have the GM.
So. Yeah.
I mean, to me, we're trying to build something that's sustainable too. Like Kobe Altman, the former GM of the Cavs, he's now the president. They just promoted guys from within to take up these new spots because he was promoted. And he was talking about how they're trying to build a culture where, the last time LeBron left, it left us in shambles because we weren't built on anything. We were just LeBron.
Yep.
And then he left and we crumbled. Now, we should be able to add pieces, take pieces away because there's a foundation of hard work, discipline. There's principles that were built on as a team and as an organization, and that when you come here, you have to buy into this. And that's why the Cavs are doing so much better this year, because they've already started to build that with Altman. They made a good hire in JB Becker's staff, and they're building cohesion throughout the organization. Browns are doing the same thing.
Yeah, you're right.
They're doing the same thing. Now when you come here, it's not just to collect a retirement paycheck. You come here, you're going to work.
Yep.
Whether you like Stefanski or you don't like Stefanski, he's going to make these guys work. There's nobody here collecting a free paycheck anymore. We're not just super excited because we got a 50-year-old Dwayne Bowe and he caught a touchdown pass one time, so we can't wait to add him to the roster. There's actually there's principles and stuff like that the team is being built on, and that's like the first time in my life that we've had that.
Look at the O-line in year one. Look at the defense in year two. They brought in guys. They identified what they needed, and they handpicked the correct people to fill those roles, and it worked.
Yeah,
both of those times it worked.
I've argued with some people online because I've talked about how I don't necessarily want to just let Jarvis walk if we can handle it, because he's helped change the culture, and people have argued with me that the culture in Cleveland hasn't changed.
Oh,
and I'm like, guy, I've argued that we didn't turn the team around in terms of wins and losses, but the culture is 100% has been changed.
Yeah.
The fact that we just won 8 games and people are mad about it, that is the culture being changed.
Right. I think we talked about that last week, was it?
Yeah, a couple weeks at least.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 years ago, 8 games was our Super Bowl.
Yep. We would have been pumped.
Yes. The expectation now when you come to Cleveland is to make a playoff run.
Yes.
It's to push for the playoffs. We don't accept losing. Like I said, there's no guys just here collecting a paycheck.
Correct. That's called a culture change.
Correct. 100%. So for people to say that the culture, the wins will come, but you can't build it from the top down. You got to start at the bottom, and you got to build it up. And that's what people like Stefanski and Barry are doing. And then players like Jarvis, and I'll give Baker credit. He's helped do that too. Miles, these guys who want to be in Cleveland. Now you got guys like John Johnson taking pay cuts to come here. That's culture change.
Yep.
You had people taking huge bloated paychecks to come here and stand around and do nothing 5-6 years ago. And now you have guys taking pay cuts to come here to play and compete for the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Don't tell me the culture in Cleveland's not changed. It's 100% changed. There's never been expectations.
No.
There's expectations now.
Absolutely. And Nick Chubb's another one.
Yeah.
I mean, now that I love Nick Chubb.
I don't know how I almost didn't bring him up. You did.
Yeah, you talk about a guy that just comes to work and just works his tail off. And do you see that video on Twitter? I think squatting was it 500?
Something ridiculous.
I forget what it was. It was, guy's a beast, man.
Light work. Looked like me in high school. No.
Yeah. Slight difference, but I see the similarities.
Yeah. I was a little faster. He's probably a little stronger. But yeah, so don't tell me the culture's not changed. It's definitely changed. Stefanski's done that. He's built a team built on accountability and stuff like that. So I like Stefanski. If he wants to call plays, it's fine.
Yep.
And I'm excited for this year to see what he does.
Oh, me too. I'm excited for the offseason. I really am. I know we were talking about we need some filler content. We don't have a ton of stuff to talk about, but the speculation and to really hone in on some of these rumors and possibilities.
As we get closer to the draft and free agency, it's going to pick up.
Yeah, which is coming soon.
Yeah.
So things are going to get nuts quick.
I think once Rodgers decides what he's going to do, that's going to be like the domino. Like once one thing happens, it's just going to be like open the floodgates.
Yeah.
It's like the dam's blocked right now. And as soon as there's one crack, it's just going to explode. And we're just going to there's going to be crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. Cause right now it's a bunch of BS. Cause like I saw a report the other day, like back to back, it was, Packers have gotten 5 trade offers for Aaron Rodgers. Then the next story was Packers say they haven't received any trade offers whatsoever for Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, okay.
Smoke and mirrors.
You people suck.
Smoke and mirrors. Okay. Well, I think we got a couple of videos for some local wide receivers.
Yeah. A couple of receivers from the draft. Do you want your wide receiver one first or do you want the other guy?
Doesn't matter.
All right, we'll do the other guy.
Browns are one of the teams that we love the receivers. Really, we had any contact with them yet, and would it be special to start your NFL career in the same state that you have a connection with now?
It's a great organization in Cleveland Browns. I had a meeting with them, I think on Monday, but it's a huge organization. I definitely like the way they run that, and just to stay in the state of Ohio. I know the fan base is crazy, and one of the best fan bases, and I definitely would love that and enjoy that.
So that was Chris Olave, Ohio State wide receiver, who, I'll be honest with you, I would not hate to see in a Cleveland Browns uniform.
No.
He was the all-time touchdown leader now at Ohio State. He beat out...
was it KJ Hill? Wasn't it somewhere...
Now I can't even remember.
Or was it an older guy?
It was an older guy, I thought.
David Boston?
I think that's who it was.
Yeah, David Boston. But I thought what's his face broke all David Boston's records. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I thought he had obliterated every
in that one game.
Yeah.
That bowl game was nuts. It was actually just popped up here. 347 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I've never watched a game. I mean, this is a little off topic, but if you guys watched the Rose Bowl with Ohio State, I've never seen a receiver have a game like that. It was the closest thing I saw was a few weeks later when Jamar Chase did it to the Chiefs, and he only had 200 some yards.
Yeah, right.
And Jigba had 100 more yards.
Dude, it was nuts.
I've never seen anything like it. And I mean, he was so good, it overshadowed the fact that CJ Stroud had 6 touchdown passes.
Yeah, and 600 yards or something.
Yeah. And he was an afterthought because in Jigba, I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
No, and the thing is, I talked a lot about, when I was watching games this year, I was like, man, Smith and Jigba is really impressing me. And people would be like, oh, well, yeah, but Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave had taken all the attention away. Well, those two guys didn't play in that game. It was Smith and Jigba #1.
It was
and he did that.
It was in Jigba, and then a bunch of talented guys who had no playing time this year.
Right, young guys.
And one of those guys came out and had 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns or something. Was it Harrison Jr. had 2 or 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, I think so.
Like Ohio State, if you guys are they're so freaking loaded at wide out. It's unbelievable. Brian Hartline is just doing crazy things at Ohio State.
He is. And CJ Stroud when the season started, he looked like a freshman.
Yeah.
Rough. By the end of the year,
he's arguably Heisman favorite coming into this year.
Him or Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Young guys that are just stepping up and doing it. So here, let's look at a combine from Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I did have a formal with the Browns, and it would be great to link up with Baker. Baker's someone that like I said, did all the things that I had wanted to do. Being a Heisman winner, that stuff you can only dream about. So watching him ball when I was younger, that was really awesome, and having that opportunity to maybe have that happen again would be awesome. I'd say the last time we talked was probably right before this past season. This past season we haven't talked that much, but we used to check in on each other a little bit more. So whenever we were in quarantine, we were linking up and throwing, like I said.
So that was Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
He's awesome. He's so good. He's explosive. He's got like Jamar. I think if you drafted him, he could make the impact that like a Jamar Chase made for the Bengals this year.
Playmaker.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a beast. Between him and Olave, would you rather have him, Olave, or other? I guess, should we bring in what we saw from Mel Kiper?
Might as well.
So then while we're talking about wide receivers, Mel Kiper put out a mock where he had the Browns trading up to what you said, 9.
Yes, with the Broncos.
The Broncos to take Drake London out of USC, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll be 100% honest. I don't watch a ton of college football other than Ohio State, and I haven't really begun to look into these people. What I know about Drake London is that he put up a season's worth of numbers in a half a season.
Yep.
I know the DF Sports doesn't like him.
No, Derek does not.
He's not a fan.
Like him, but
he's the only person I know who doesn't like him.
Now, I did get to watch Drake London. I think it was twice this year. Again, USC's tough. West Coast college teams, we don't usually get to watch here in the East very often because games don't start till after 10 o'clock or later. He's impressive, but I didn't see what I saw out of Garrett Wilson out of Drake London when I was watching those games. Now, doesn't mean he can't do it or he didn't do it. I need to watch the tape. We still have to do our draft prospect evaluations and things like that. But we've already done it basically on Olave and Garrett Wilson for the last 3 or 4 years, depending on who you're talking about, because we've watched these guys every single Saturday.
Yeah.
And Garrett Wilson from his freshman year, he was a true freshman, came out and was playing for the Buckeyes and playing well and making big plays. And it was like, oh, this kid's going to be pretty good in a couple of years. Well, it was 1 year and he was outstanding. and he just got better. Olave, I'm kind of shocked Olave didn't come out in the draft last year. Whenever he said he was coming back for another year at Ohio State, I was a little shocked.
Yeah. So to me, Olave, he kind of reminds me of like Keenan Allen with, just a great route runner. And Keenan Allen's great. Do I take Keenan Allen in the top 10 or top? I don't know.
So that's what I was going to say. Yeah. If we're trading up to 9 or trading up at all to get a receiver, at this point, for me, it'd be Garrett Wilson, not Drake London.
Yeah. I want Garrett. Well, you call me a homer. I want the Ohio State guy, especially because I think he's better. And it energized the team. I feel like it energized the fans. I feel that we almost never draft Ohio State guys with the exception of Denzel Ward. Before that was Brian Robisky. And I feel like we drafted Brian Robisky just because he was from Ohio State.
Yeah, I remember that pick was a little.
And we reached. I think we took him second round. It was like, wait, why? What? He wasn't even that good at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And it felt like they knew we were going to suck, and they're like, let's just take this Ohio State guy so people are happy. That wouldn't be the case here. If Garrett Wilson's available in the first round, he would 100% be worth that pick.
I think so. I do. It's hard to argue against it. He was such a playmaker for the Buckeyes.
And we're seeing wide receivers make impacts on teams now
Immediately.
Yes,
it was like 3 years ago. The rule was, well, give it the second half of the season, and then they start to kind of the rookies will come on. Now it's week 1, week 2. You got these rookie receivers blowing up, and it's crazy. Do
you take Wilson because he has a little bit of, I don't know if I'd call it chemistry. Who knows how much they've actually played together, thrown or whatever, but there's at least familiarity with Baker.
No, that matters not to me.
Me too, because I don't even know if Baker's going to be on the quarterback.
That's true. So that for sure. Plus, we heard about all the chemistry with, well, I guess it wasn't with Baker, but like the Jarvis Odell chemistry and teammates and coming together, and it was all going to be great, and none of it ever worked out. So I don't care about like previous chemistry.
Chemistry between two wide receivers is a lot different than chemistry with a quarterback and a wide receiver.
All I know is Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp had to do was get coffee every morning together or breakfast or whatever they did. And, all-time great season. So
this is true.
I think that whoever the quarterback is, as long as the coaching and everything is handled well, it's going to work out.
I agree. I'm not making a decision like that. My biggest thing is you don't know if Baker's even going to be the quarterback.
No.
It could be Jameis Winston.
Hey.
But no, those are the three names I've heard the most, I think, in the first round. As far as receiver, there's been some people who have talked defense. Again, like I said earlier, I think it's going to depend on what we do in free agency before the draft is going to dictate a lot. Or if we identify somebody we want in the draft, then that's going to dictate our free agency. They're going to go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think so. Another receiver, as far as the draft goes, would be Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. Again, got to do our prospect evaluations. I know he's a big receiver. He's like 6'3", 225, but he's fast. So
like DK, can he run routes?
I think he's probably a little better at running routes, at least from what the very little I've read. But I did watch him a little bit because I was interested last year. I kept hearing his name in college football, and they were on during the day. And, he made some big plays. He's a big body.
That's my biggest problem with it is there's just so many college teams, so many guys.
Yeah.
I watch the Buckeyes, and that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me. I don't want to tell people what I think about certain college players I didn't watch a single minute of Treylon Burks play. So he played for Arkansas.
Yeah.
Are their games even on TV?
When they play Texas.
So, but no, I will look into some of these guys. Let us know who you guys are looking at the most. I know a lot of the guys in the Patreon are sending us mock drafts. Some of these guys, they live and breathe for this stuff. So if that's you, check out the Patreon. I'm telling you, you'll never be bored.
It's a good community. It really is. It's growing into a really cool place to be. And seeing all these guys pop in their mock drafts and stuff, I'm like, man, I'm about ready to jump in and start doing my evaluations.
My mocks will be terrible. I'll trade away all my picks except for my first two. So the last thing I wanted to talk about before we got out of here, I think it was Sam Howell, the quarterback out of where did he play?
North Carolina.
Yeah. So he said he interviewed with the Eagles, and they had him shooting hoops on like a little mini like Nerf hoop or something like that during the interview. And it just made me think, why do teams do these weird things? And to me, they want to see how you react to like weird adverse situations. So much about football, especially playing quarterback, is mental.
That's true. And I'm sure when he was walking into the interview, he wasn't expecting to be asked to make baskets on a little Nerf hoop.
Correct.
So it probably had to do with like competition type thing. Like, is this guy going to grab this little Nerf ball and say, all right, I'm going to try to make as many of these shots as I can? Or is he like, this is weird, I don't want to do this?
Yeah, you always hear about teams ask weird questions, like, would you rather drink sour milk or sour orange juice? And the answer you give says you're a nice person or a serial killer. Like there's just like weird questions like that. Again, I think especially when you're evaluating the quarterback position, so much of it is mental. They just bring you in, and they don't even care what you say. They want to see how you handle it, this is the biggest job interview of your life. So how do you handle a curveball, something you probably didn't prepare for at all, as soon as you walk into this interview? And that's kind of, how they are judging you. They don't care what the answer is.
Yeah, because at this point, I mean, your tape, obviously if you're being talked to as like a potential first round quarterback, your tape's good, the other guy's tape's good, the other guy's tape's good. How are you mentally?
Yeah. Can you lead men?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially as like a 22, 23-year-old kid.
Yep. That'd be old. Some of these guys are probably 20.
That's true.
So I just got a kick out of that, making them shoot Nerf baskets, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out for any more weird things I hear. I've heard over the years, I can't remember specifically, but I've heard some very weird questions. I know in Draft Day, great movie, they gave guys playbooks with money in the back. Bo Callahan stole the money. Piece of shit, Bo Callahan. I can't wait for Draft Day so I can watch Draft Day. I watch the movie Draft Day every year on Draft Day. It's like my go-to.
So here's an idea. What if are we going to do our draft?
Our live draft?
Yeah, our live draft again.
I figured unless,
So I think we should, and we may or may not have a brand new studio that we can tap into to use resources for that. But it'd be cool if we all got together and watched Draft Day and then did our live show.
I'd be down with that.
All right.
Vontae Mack, no matter what.
That's right.
I love
See if
that
we can
movie.
get Zach out of bowling for that one.
Yeah, and we'll get Justin healthy. If we can show up sick, Justin can show up sick.
That's right.
Sorry to whoever else uses this microphone. Hopefully they're not watching. So that was basically, what we wanted to talk about today. Let us know if you guys hear of any funny stories coming out of these interviews. Let us know what wide receivers you're looking, or if you think the Browns aren't even going to look at wide receiver and we're going somewhere else, let us know what you think. Lastly, let us know what you think about Njoku and Clowney. Help us fill these episodes until we get closer to some of the cool stuff. So, help us out. Join the after hours if you guys are looking to get, especially if you're looking to get really heavy into mock drafts and talk, prospects and all that good stuff. Jump into that. I'm going to be 100% honest. That's not my strength. And a lot of these guys in this group, it's like what they live for. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody in that. So check that out. Jointhedawgs.com. This time next week, we will have seen some of the performances at the Combine. We'll be able to talk about that. So hopefully the weather's good where you are and everybody have a good week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at the Dogs Podcast and become an official Dog Pack member at jointhedawgs.com.